Dear viewers and subscribers, welcome again to our YouTube channel Max the Service. Please subscribe and press the bell icon to receive all notifications regarding any video we are uploading on this channel. Okay, guys, with the continuity of the last video where we just included uh, Docker Compose file, here is we have, and we also created image. We ran some commands Docker Compose up and down. We also discussed Dockerfile as well, and today we will add one more service because in last session we discussed one service core which is a demo, and we run it and execute it and also access it with the REST API which is hello. Here you can see. Okay. Today, what second service I'm going to add? Definitely that would be our database, and third service I will add front end. So I will also present you architecture diagram. Today I'm just going to add another service, okay, which is DB. For database, we will be adding some basic requirements like if I'm going to add more service, DB, which is DB, and first of all, I will add like container, container name, DB container, okay, and then I will definitely add image will be MySQL, okay, and we can also add attach latest to download the latest version if you want, otherwise it is okay with the MySQL as well. And then I have to provide environment variable, envir envi environment, okay. With environment we have like my SQL root user, okay, which is root, because I am going to just use root user, right? Root. Wow. Let me check why it is behaving like this. Under environment, I have my MySQL root underscore user root uh, root, and then I have MySQL password, root password. It is also root, and then it is my SQL database. Database. What database? If you have already created, then you can mention that name. Otherwise, I'm assuming that I will be creating database with the name of demo. Okay. Okay. So this is the basic configuration for another service which is a database. I can set it as a demo underscore DB. So it should be because we will be adding more database. So just I'm adding prefix. So if it is getting you confused, then I can also use simple DB. Okay. So we can also say core DB, whatever name you can add. As I have added container name DB container, so it should be here. Container name core container. Okay. So here is container name of the application, and we have built. I'm going to improve this with some context, which is current directory, and I'm going to add one more thing, Dockerfile, and here Dockerfile you will be adding the path of this file. Okay, whatever Dockerfile you have, you will be adding with the same name. Keep in mind that you should not be using different name with same path. If it is under different folder, then you have to provide that absolute path. Okay, so guys, we have now two services. One is core and second is database. So definitely core will be accessing database for getting the data. So what else I have to provide? Definitely, if I'm going to uh, add another service for Spring Boot application, I have to add one dependency. I already have added to save time. Okay, which is MySQL. Okay, so I also have added it, and after adding this, you must run mvn clean install to check either this dependency is included and installed within this project. Okay, if it goes well successfully, then we will be able to connect with this database as well. Now what is next? We have added database service in the compose, and now definitely I would like to add uh, database uh, as well. Okay, so let it finish first. Okay, build successful. Guys, one important thing which I want to tell you, always remember, mostly developers forget to mention the name where we actually mention depends on. Like this service is depends on us. If this service is communicating this service with DB, then it must be provided uh, which is depends on. Okay. Okay, guys. Then what else I have to create? Definitely, I have added one more service. I also, okay, one thing I again forget, which is I believe ports. I have to add ports. But ports are actually uh, 6 host and exposed. Okay, these are the ports. Okay, guys. Now we have to communicate as we have to run this application and see either it is working fine or not. Uh, okay, now I'm going to use Docker up, and there must be two services like DB and core. So let's see. Yeah, here you can see it is also pulling DB service and also core. So in the meanwhile, because it will first look on Docker desktop, it is available. If it is already available here, then it will be utilize that one. Otherwise, it will pull from Docker repository. Yeah, I mean Docker Hub. Here, Hub repository, there are available many images available already built from Docker Hub, so it will be downloaded and available for us. So in the meanwhile, we go for rest of configuration and see. Here you can see that we already have created this dependency, and now what else we have to create? We have to create a database. Okay, for a local environment testing, because what database name we have used, it is let me see, it is DemoDB. So I will be creating new database here. I'm using MySQL Workbench, and here is DemoDB. Okay, apply. Yeah. Okay, guys. So DemoDB available for us, and there is no any table. How tables will be get created? I will show you because Spring Boot JPA provide us functionality. We will use some annotation, and all the tables will be created automatically. For that, we must be go into the application application file, and we have to provide all the configuration here as well. So let me add all these configuration so that we can uh, working with the database as well. And Spring provide us some configuration to set, like Spring dot data source dot URL, and here I will provide URL like JDBC MySQL localhost. Here you can provide IP if you are using remote. Uh, your DB is on remote server, then you will be providing here remote IP. Okay, localhost. Then because we are going to run this database on localhost, so we will be providing localhost. Uh, it is default port we already mentioned in Docker Compose, and then we will be providing demo DB. Okay. Now after that, Spring dot data source dot username root, then Spring dot data source dot password, it is also root. Then we must provide some Hibernate dialect because we are going to use reverse engineering. Whatever configuration we will be doing in the application, it will be reflected in the database. For that, we need to provide spring.jpa dot properties dot uh, hibernate dia dialect, and here we will be providing org.hibernate.dialect.mysql SQL dialect dialect. Then we have to provide spring.jpa.hibernate, and it is update. Okay, what the purpose of this property is, guys? It is just if you are going to update everything, whatever configuration you will be doing in Java, then it will automatically update in your database. If you are going to create, whenever you will restart your application, it will refresh everything. It will create only. It will not update. So please don't use create, otherwise it will delete and then create new one. So update will always update your new changes. So I'm going to also provide spring.profile.active, like we are going to provide doc. So this is related to your local environment configuration. If we are going to test on, because for these configuration you must have uh, MySQL installed on your local machine. For Docker Hub, you don't need to do because you always going to create images and then you will be having everything on cloud. Okay, so for that, first of all, I am going to create Maven clean install to get everything. Okay guys, it is already built, and let me show you that either. Whew. Here you can see we have MySQL available here. We also demo available here, and also there must be containers. You can see DB containers and core containers. Okay. For that, now I am going to build this again, and okay, one thing more which we are going to miss, which should not be, because we have not created any table in the database. Here you can see we have just created database and there is no any table data. For that, I will be using some JPA, Spring JPA, to create databases, sorry, tables, and whatever configuration I will do with the notation, everything will be reflected. For that, let's start with some configuration in Java. Okay, and first of all, if you have some enough knowledge with Spring Boot, we must create controller, then repository, then service layer. Once I create this, I will present you our architecture diagram where you will be able to understand very easily. So let me create one folder like controller. Okay, and then I will be creating one folder like model, and repository, like we can say model, or you can also say entity. And we have this controller will be having our controller REST API, REST controller, and this will be having entity mapping with databases, and then we will be having service. This layer will be having all the uh, s- business logic implemented within this. Okay, and then we have will be having uh, like repository. In this layer will be communicating with database directly. It's mean any HTTP hit will occur to controller. Controller will uh, communicate with service layer, and service layer will communicate with the repository, and repository will communicate with database, and it will be using entity is our DTO, which will contain object. Okay, so if we go into controller, I will create a file like user controller. Let's suppose we are going to use controller dot java. Okay, here we need some configuration like because right now it's a simple class, and to make it controller I must have some configuration like at the rate rest controller. Okay, I will also use like all all constructor, and I will also be using like request mapping. Why will use request mapping? It's a base main mapping. Like whenever you are going to hit this API, you must know like if I'm going to uh, accessing user based API, I can use like API API slash users. Okay. Okay, then we must have user service and user repository, everything. For that, let me create one user service. If I go, then I can also create user repository first. User repository. User repository, right? Dot Java. Okay. Y- You will be extending user repository with the Spring JPA support provided, like if you can implement and also you can extend the JPA repository. JPA repository, and you can pass user and its type of ID, like we mostly use long. Okay, now it will ask you to import user repository. No, we might have missing some JPA related stuff. So let me check. Why I'm going to check dependency, because it is not showing me when I utilize. So I have to check either we have JPA or not. Yes, we don't have. So let me add another dependency, which is JPA. Yeah, group ID. Yeah, it is like org dot spring framework dot uh, boot, and I have to provide artifact ID, which is spring boot starter dot jpa. Yeah, here is. Mhm. Okay, it is downloading. It is saying that build dependency version. So what is the version? How we can check? Okay, guys, to fix this all argument constructor, actually this belongs to Lombok, which is another open source project. It is very helpful because you don't want to create constructor, setter, getter. You just use annotation and uh, can reduce boiler of code. So for that we must go again to POM, and we have to add dependency as well, and then group ID. For that I believe group ID is group dot project Lombok, and then we have to provide artifact ID, which is again Lombok. uh, okay, and then it will ask us to provide version, and then simply we can provide like optional true. Okay, and now I believe it will help us to create no argument constructor. Yeah, here you can see. Okay, we have created user controller, then we were working with repository, and it is asking to create user, and definitely we will be creating user class, which is actually entity class, and it is class. Then we have to provide some information in the user. Here you can see like I will be providing a table. If I want to add table name, then I can provide simple, because just I will execute this application and the table will be created with this name in the database automatically. This is very good and helpful for developers to don't work on DB side as well users. And I have to provide entity to tell this framework that it is my entity. It should be mapped with the uh, database. It will create with the name of user entity, and then we can also provide all argument constructor, then no argument constructor. I will also explain all of this, but when we will be working setter getter. Okay, we don't need to provide getter and setter as well. We also don't need to provide all argument constructor and no argument constructor. What is saying like this? Duplicate method user is type user. Mm, no argument constructor. Okay. Okay. We can provide anyone. Okay, then I have to provide few fields of user, like I want to provide ID. Okay, and here is ID, and then I also provide generated value. Generated value. Generated value uh, with strategy. What strategy I will be using? Generated type. Generation type, sorry. Dot identity. Okay, and now I will provide private long ID, then uh, another column which is there any constraint? Yes, I don't want it should be should not be nullable, and it is private string first first name. Okay, then I can copy and paste uh, first name, last name, and email. Sorry, last name, email. Okay, guys, this is an email. I also want unique constraint, unique, sorry, unique true. Okay, what is this? Generative type, identity, I D E N T Y. Okay. Okay, so this is our user table to be created when we will start this application. Now you have to import this user. Please also check because we also have user entity provided by Spring. So you must validate this one is created by you. And we have also created controller. Then we must create service. For service, we will be creating a user service. Uh, we must create another folder as well, like implementation, and under service we will create user service. It it will be interface, not class, and I will use user, like create user, and here I will be providing user. This is default method. uh, create user, and then I will be having user. It will provide yet user by ID, and here I will be providing user ID. Okay, then another method I will be listing user. Okay, and then I will use get all users, and here I will be providing nothing, and then we will be okay. Later we will be using rest of, like we can have like void and delete user, and here we will be providing long user ID. Okay, what is the issue with this? Typeless, not generic, it cannot be parameterized with argument user. Why it will not be okay? I imported long one, wrong one. Now okay, now any class implementing this interface must be implementing all these methods. Okay, and we should implement Here is user service implementation. Okay, dot java, and it will be class and it will implement user service, and it will ask to implement all the method. Add unimplemented method, yes. Now here is the learning curve, guys, because we are working with the Spring JPA and we will be using Spring JPA to direct communicate with our database, and for create user, just you will be using user repository. Here I will import object of user repository, user repository, user repository. Okay, and now I will be using dot like save, and here I will be providing user. Okay, and what is issue with this demo use? Yes, it is saying that you are using wrong one user, so you have to use right one. Yeah, this one and this one. What is the issue? Okay, must return okay, yeah, return, it will return users. Then we have get user by id. Guys, here you can see that we don't need to create any query, just we are going to use Spring JPA provided by its implementation of Hibernate. Spring actually it is the same thing like we have Spring Boot implementation of Java, and also a combination with Hibernate functionality. So I will use option. Okay, not option of, yeah, option of util Hibernate Spring Boot config. Let me check which option we have to use. It's a string utils. It's a string utils. Yeah, option, and here I will be using optional. Sorry, optional. Optional, what optional? In case there is null value, it will be handled by this optional. Okay, then we have object of user. Okay, and optional user and user repository dot get by id, and id is user id, and now I will be return optional user dot get. Okay, okay guys, it's up to you, and rest of I am it will be available on GitHub repository. You will be implementing and letting me know on by via comments on the video, so that I can review and I can help you. Also, you can provide some suggestions. So right now it is enough, and we are going to uh, going to utilize controller so that we are able to get some results. User controller, and here I will be using at the moment private user service, uh, user service. And now let's suppose I'm just going to first create user, public response entity, here user, and like we have create user, uh, we will be getting request body, not parameter. When you use request body, it means we will be using JSON object, user, user. Okay, and now we'll be using user2 and user service dot get create user, and here we'll be providing to it. Okay, what is the issue? Just request body annotation in the method parameter should be bound the body of request body. Okay, yeah, we have to provide post mapping, and here just you can ignore or you can just use create, create. Okay, okay, sorry, method must return result. Yeah, it will return like return new response entity, and here will be save user 2 and http status dot created. Yeah, created. Okay, why the issue is created cannot be rolled or is not a field Java. HTTP status. What kind of HTTP status we have to use? Spring framework. Let me check. Yeah, we have used wrong one. We have to use provided by Spring. Yeah, here is. Okay guys, another method we will be creating just to get the user. Okay, we can also implement get all user, all get by ID. Right now let me check with the get all user, get mapping. I don't want to add more path, get all users. Okay, and request parameter in get all user, I don't want to get any request parameter because it will be fetching all the users. And now you can check list of users, and users user service dot get all users, simple. And just you will be returning return new response like this. In response there is users, and here will be like okay. Yeah. Okay, what is the issue? Response entity users http status dot okay, return new yeah, here we have to provide the correct one. Response entity, and here is list of user. Okay, I have made few changes in one is in pom.xml because when I was building this project it was throwing exception related to Java to XML binding. Okay, so I have added this dependency, and we also have Lombok where we can remove boiler of codes, and just we can use annotation like setter getter. And another thing I have added, like here you can see I have implemented get all users, and also in repository nothing, and in user I have also made changes, few changes like use static because using static it will be, we don't need to import all the things like id column everything separately. So under persistence, when I will be using dot static, I can import everything. Otherwise I have to I have to import like Jakarta dot persistent dot like id or column. So I have to import everything separately. So avoid this, I just use static. So under persistence, all I can import, and I don't need to write here as well separate import. Another thing I have used, guys, AutoWire. Okay, actually AutoWire it allows Spring context to create object of these beans automatically create and remove from the class loader when it is not being used. So it is the also it tells the Spring Boot application in context that there is a also bean which can be controller, which can be service, whatever is, you have to take care creating and initiating of object of this bean and close when it is not being used. So we don't need to create like in traditional in old pattern we have to use new, then we have to create object like this. So auto wiring help us in this regard. Another thing I have added in controller, let me show you. I also used AutoWire. I also uh, you implement this get all users and add mapping to segregate after user. We will be using slash add slash get everything. Okay, so guys, in database side we have just db and we don't have any table you can see. Okay, and now I am going to execute this application. When I will run this application, it will create automatically user class, because we have provided these annotation, and it will be uh, updating. If there is already user class, adding here an other column, it will update that table with new column, otherwise it will create. So let me first run my event build. So guys, in this way we are just uh, uh, executing this project and testing on local machine. Then we will be using cloud like Docker Desktop, and we will be using Docker Compose, so that after testing locally we will be using containerization. Okay, build success, and now I have to run this application. Let's suppose click on run. Okay, it is running successfully, and now I have to go in the database and see either I have created table available. Okay, great. If I select, there is nothing. Now I am going to also select from API. Okay, let's suppose if I am going to get here, you can see there is empty list. So I have to uh, use Postman, and first I have to add my records. So I have prepared for you to just save time, that there is Ali name, last first name, last name, and email. As you can see in entity, we have first name, last name, and email. And ID, it will be generated automatically on the base of generation type identity. It will be it will be generating unique ID, which will not be null. So to do this, let me uh, add this uh, new object. Ooh, okay, it is I hope created. Let me check with application, and if I run this get to get all user, here you can see we have get this from the database, and let me check from database either it is available or not. Yeah, here is also available. So now I will stop this application, and now I will be using Docker Compose. Okay guys, I made few changes, as we have seen that we have run Spring Boot application with MySQL, and we also do some test how to access it from REST API, and we use Postman for that. And now we are going to do this application containerization to see either same uh, results we should be requiring. Okay. First, I'm going to stop everything. Okay, guys, we have run Spring Boot application, okay, with the MySQL database, which is running on my local machine, and also we add one user, and we also create a table in the database through this code, Spring JPA, by using Spring application, Spring Boot, and now we will be expecting same results when we containerize this Spring Boot application, okay. You can see I made few changes which are not any specific to environment. Just I revert MySQL to latest 8.0, and I changed the name of container name MySQL DB. We will be using DB dash container, so that this is something like professional way. So I used restart always, because sometime when our application uh, get any exception and need to restart, it will always get restarted. And database is same name, and I also had included networks so that these two services should communicate on the same network. And here you can see I have same name core container, and also I added version with this image, and also I added depends on. So under depends on, remember that we have to use service name. And one more thing which is very very important, please don't forget to add here local, replace localhost with your container name. Okay, so here is your container name, because your application, this core service will connecting to database which is running on MySQL DB container. Okay, if container name is ABC, then you must be placing here ABC. Mostly developers do this mistake and get confused. Okay, why I'm not going to get any issue with connection to the database while it is running on my local machine? Because when we run on local machine, here you can see we have localhost, then port and DB name. Here, please don't forget to mention your container instead of localhost. So I'm going to run this container with Docker Compose. Okay, now I have to check with the container should be running. Ooh, great. Here you can see here is core container, and here MySQL DB container. Okay, here is we are using MySQL 8.0 and our application version at v 1.0. We can change it as well, but remember that this image is downloaded from Docker Hub. This is running in Docker, not on our local machine, because I have stopped this service. Here you can see MySQL, it is not working, not running. I have stopped. If I will keep running it, then I have to change the port and configuration so that I can uh, communicate with MySQL running on the Docker, not on the local machines. Okay, so another thing, we have to get the results, same results. First, I have to check. We already added one record with Ali. So let me check either we can get that one or not. Ooh, great. Here you can see that here is Ali available. And now I am going to, guys, remember that it is running on, your containers are running actually, not anything on your local machine. It is, we have Docker engine running on WSL, and those containers are communicating with each other, our core API and databases. Now I'm going to change Shahid Abbasi, Shahid at the Gmail. So I'm going to add this one so that I will be able to get both results, because I am using users get. Yeah, you can see here we have Shahid and Ali available here as well. So congratulations guys, we have successfully implemented Docker Compose with Spring Boot, and we have added another service which is database. And in next session we will be adding UI, and instead of accessing these results from this REST API Postman, we will be using some front end application, and we will be doing some CRUD operations. And we will complete rest of configuration like links, networking, how to use networks, what are the purpose of networks, and all the things. Let me show you if I can check with it. Okay. Today I covered service top level element, and under this there are a lot of things like what is the purpose of attach, build, all these configuration, what are the purpose of like rate, path, wait advice, CPU count, everything I will be showing you. I will be configuring and showing you all the things how these are working and when you need all of these configuration. After that, we will be moving on. So please subscribe if you have not, and share in your circle. And also do your comments if you want some more improvements. Otherwise, you can also appreciate or you can also criticize. I would like to have some comments from you, and also please suggest. I would request to add yourself UI service or any other service. Like right now we have core, and you can also add another uh, service like management or registration, whatever you can add. Okay, login, you can add login service that will be performing login and logout functionality as well. So I will be committing this code in GitHub, so you can download and you can also keep working on this on the same project. Apart from watching these videos, you will be having all the source code and documentation, so that you can also do some practice yourself. Thank you very much. Bye. Okay, please subscribe my channel if you have not subscribed yet, and also do like, share in your circle these videos, and also provide your valuable comments. And I hope you will be liking and sharing, so that I will be continuing with rest of the technologies and tools sharing with you. Thanks.